everybody, and welcome to the Makers of Minnesota podcast, where we're talking to cool people doing cool things. And I've been thinking a lot about Bloody Marys because I was at the Bloody Mary festival last weekend, and I did not meet this person there, but he reached out to me shortly thereafter, and I was in the Bloody Mary spirit and in the Bloody Mary mood. Pete, welcome to the program. It is Pete Holzer. He is from Sideshow Bloody Mary Mix. And Pete, I kind of have a Bloody Mary obsession. I'm not going to lie. And it sounds like you.
We love people like you, Stephanie. We love people that are obsessed with Bloody Marys, as many people are.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that Bloody Mary festival, there were like 2,500 people there. How did you get obsessed with Bloody Marys?
Yeah. And usually we are at the Bloody Mary festival. We just opted to do different events.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
So how do we get into the Bloody Mary biz? So like a million years ago when I was in college, I bartended, and it was at a supper club. So they specialize in Bloody Marys. And at the time I'm like, well, I don't know about that. You know, I wasn't like too keen on that because I love vegetables, and the last vegetable I ever grown to like were tomatoes. So I wasn't too keen on it. But I met my wife, or girlfriend at the time, then fiance, and then wife, and her family was obsessed with Bloody Mary. So I took these recipes that I concocted, which I've never tried before, at kind of a reunion, and it was a big hit. And then, fast forward 25 years, my wife and I have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. We've had different businesses. So we're like, let's do like a cool business. And how cool are Bloody Mary? I was at a networking event the other day, and they're like, wait, what did you say? You're with a Bloody Mary company? And I'm like, well, that's cooler than, whatever other industry.
Yeah.
So, but we just love them. And I mean, we spent like a year perfecting 3 of our recipes. And, we just, whether it's a friend or foe, but we typically give these little mason jars to our family members and friends. And it's pretty awesome because then they'll tell us to tweak it a little bit, maybe add a little bit more of this or a little bit more of that. Because they're typically, in a good Bloody Mary, you'll have anywhere between 8 and 15 ingredients. And you need to really mesh those well together.
Right.
So one's not overpowering. So that's kind of maybe the long version of how we got into the business and how we're here today.
So tell me about your 3 varieties and how are they different?
Yeah. So we start with our original, which there's a lot of people who like just a mild Bloody Mary, a classic Bloody Mary, and we have that one. And then we have a sweet horseradish, which is a very unique blend. So it doesn't really have a bite, but it's a real savory blend. And then our final one is jalapeno and garlic. And that actually has been our number 1 seller since day one. However, some people just don't like spice in their Bloody Marys. I wish they would, because Bloody Mary should be spicy. But the mild one, and not to discredit our mild at all, but it's just designed for a good Bloody Mary. The nice thing about a mild, they're very popular around the holidays because you can always doctor them up.
Right.
When you have people over for Thanksgiving or Christmas, Uncle Joe might like it spicy, Aunt Mary might not. So it's a good one you can doctor up. And with those 3 varieties that we have, every single summer, we do a different sampler variety, just kind of like the beer companies do. You do a different one. And this summer we had a habanero bacon, which we served at festivals and at liquor stores. And it was a huge hit. We pull it off the market, then we'll interject another one next year.
And do you sell like gift packs for holidays where you can get like 1 of each? That's
crazy that you're saying this. Right behind me is a basket where we do so many shows, and people are always like, oh, that would make a great Christmas gift. So we're going to put bows on them and ribbons and all that good stuff. So
I love it.
Good stocking stuffer. So yeah,
it will be a great gift idea. So you say you're a serial entrepreneur. What other types of businesses have you had?
So we had an advertising agency for about 11 years. And with that, we also published local magazines. It was fantastic. Loved it. And then we sold that business. And then my wife's got the same entrepreneurial spirit. She's always had a hair salon. And then she's got a stained glass company. So we've always, I've done the corporate route, and, I loved it, but I just love the nimbleness of having a business.
Do you feel like when you look back on your corporate route versus your entrepreneurial life, because I think a lot of people get into the entrepreneurial life thinking they're going to have more flexibility over their schedule. Do you think that you work more on your entrepreneur businesses than you did in your corporate life?
So that's funny. When I first started my first business, I'm like, because it was an ad agency, right? I'm like, I'm gonna have martini lunches all the time. This is great. This is how it's supposed to be. And you know what? I never had one because I usually had to work till midnight. And same with like yesterday. I mean, doing deliveries, got home, had dinner, and then now you can't see it here, but we're doing packaging to send out. So it never ends. But when you have your own business, you never work a day in your life. I think that's a famous quote.
Yep.
Because it doesn't feel like work, because it's a passion.
Yeah. When you started the Bloody Mary business, did you have a set amount of money? Like, we're going to start it with X amount and that's going to be our seed money. And have you ever gone below that or had to reinvest?
Well, that's a great question too. So yeah, we had some money earmarked to launch this because you need capital to do that.
How much did you start with approximately?
What's that?
How much did you start with approximately?
$25,000.
Okay, because some people it can be 10, some people it's 50, 25 is a good number. It seems like that'd be a good launch.
Yeah, it seems like a good launch. And you know what the thing about that is you say, oh wow, 25 grand, that's a lot of money. But I mean, you're talking about design and packaging and labeling and R&D and websites and marketing collateral. And usually when you start out in like a food and beverage business, there's a lot of trial and error. I mean, when we first launched this, it was kind of on the fixed side, which it wasn't working so well. So, I mean, that was like an R&D throwaway. And now we've kind of carved it a little bit. But I knock on wood, right? We've never had to take out a loan yet. So we're just putting money back in, and it's finally catching on because there's nothing that's competition proof. I mean, it's a commoditized market, and it takes a while to get your brand going.
Do you think having your background in advertising has helped you in this business? And what kind of you did magazine advertising, so publishing?
Yeah, yep. Oh, most definitely. And I see my competition kind of doing the same stuff, and which is good to know what they're doing, but I try to do things a little different, and maybe I don't want to reveal all my secrets, but it definitely has helped. And we post videos online that we do, and whether we're at shows and such, but yeah, we just have kind of taken my background to apply that, because what's that?
I was going to say, I think that's actually something I would like entrepreneurs to hear, because the nature of you is like, well, everybody's zigging, so maybe I should zag.
Yeah.
But I think the best entrepreneurs actually have a combination of both, because you don't always want to be the first mover in a space. You don't always want to be the evangelist for a product. So you're trying to find, what are your competitors doing right? What are they doing well? And then what could you put your own spin on, or where are areas that maybe are smaller risk, higher reward that you can be the groundbreaker in?
I love it. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely. So let me show you an example. Am I able to get something right here?
Sure.
What I'm referring to.
Right now, Pete's grabbing something in his kitchen.
What's that?
I'm just telling the audience what you're doing. I said you were grabbing something in your kitchen.
Oh, okay. All right. So as you can see right here, this bottle. Have you seen our bottles before?
Probably. Yeah, and that bottle, I'm trying to describe it. It was like they put barbecue sauce in that bottle in the 80s. I'm trying to think. Open pit. It's like an open pit barbecue bottle.
Open pit, and they used to use way back in the day. Caro syrup used to be in a bottle like this. But when I went to market with this, I'm like, every single Bloody Mary bottle is exactly the same. This is more expensive, but you know what? It sticks out. Because when you're going up against, as a consumer, right? You're at a liquor store and you see 20 Bloody Mary mixes, and 18 of the 20 have the exact same bottle. You got to do something a little different, and it's kind of paid off for us.
Yeah, and that could either be a plus or a minus, because in some aspects, maybe a liquor store doesn't want to have not weirder packaging, but the outlier, because then they have to deal with where they're going to put it and how it fits on the shelf. So depending on your industry, sometimes again, that's a plus. Other times it's a minus, just depending on what it is.
Well, since we're bearing our souls right here, I mean, you hit it right on the head there, Stephanie, because we've been very fortunate to get into a lot of major retailers, but we got turned down by a major one because it's a wider bottle and that shelf space is like precious, and it was just too wide for their SKU. So, I mean, that's a good example. That's a negative. So,
yeah. And it's like the pluses come with the minuses, right? So what made you stand out maybe hurt you at one retailer, but maybe will help you at others. So is most of your marketing at this point social media? Do you go to shows? Do you do festivals, trade shows? Are you there every weekend?
yeah, we do. We try to do, again, we're in about 140 locations retail in Minnesota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. And typically what we do is we do a lot of shows too, because it's a great way to build your brand, great way to get it out. Because if you think about it, when you go to the liquor store and you see this brand and you've never tried it before, it's kind of a gamble.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many tastings all the time and demos. And yeah, these fairs and expos have worked well for us.
When you go to a fair, are you looking at it as a money maker? Is the goal to break even? Do you like have a certain amount of the cost of the fair entry that you attribute to branding and marketing?
Yeah, I mean, all the above, but mostly a money maker.
Okay. And do you sample?
We do.
Do you ever stand next to someone that doesn't sample? Because I think sampling is expensive for people that are makers, but I just can't stress enough, if you're listening, if you go to these events and you don't sample, you are just leaving money on the table.
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because I've been at shows where some people have had amazing products, and I guess I don't want to mention the product because it might allude to maybe who they are, but it's an amazing product, and I'm like, and they're not sampling it out. And at the show, this stuff is usually pretty expensive, and I'm like, God, if you just give a little bit out.
Yeah.
Because it sells itself. And actually, to your point about sampling, there's so many times, because the American dollar can only go so far, and usually people bring cash to these shows. Well, I mean, obviously credit card as well, or Venmo, but sometimes people will have a taste and they'll say, well, I'm going to think about it. Let's see what else is around here. I mean, that's just our shopping nature. And usually they come back in 5 minutes because they have tastes with them.
Yep.
And if they didn't try it, they may not be back.
When you do you like, is it better for you to go to Bloody Mary exclusive shows or shows where you're mixed in with other types of vendors?
100% mixed in with other vendors. So, I got to tell you that we've done that Bloody Mary festival, and it's great, and people love it, and it's a good value. I mean, it costs a pretty penny, but you get to try, like, I don't know, maybe like 20 different Bloody Marys.
Right.
But let me ask you this. The person that goes there that had 20 little Bloody Marys, do you think she or he will remember all of them? No, because it was everyone meshed together.
Yeah, I do.
I'm trying to do less and less of those.
Yeah, I can totally see that from your point of view. I do think in some respects it's good because it's a niche market. So those people are Bloody Mary aficionados. But I also can see that there's people that are just coming for 12 Bloody Marys with their friends to get sloshed, and that's not necessarily a maker environment. So I can see it both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do you feel like, is there a new frontier for you that you're not in that you think like would be your next rodeo? In terms of like, you want your product in this place, or you want to be able to like sell on Amazon? Is there something that you're looking at?
There is, and we do self-distribution, so we don't have a distributor, which means we control our brand 100%. And buyer beware that when you give your brand to a distributor, they're also distributing so many other products.
Mm-hmm.
Are they making sure that your bottles are lined up right? Are they making sure everything looks good? Probably not. Maybe. But we're looking at getting into bigger markets, because we stuck our toe into the pool of doing different markets throughout the state, larger markets other than the Twin Cities, like Rochester, Duluth, Alexandria, and some are hits, some are misses. So maybe just, I mean, I'm not going to say, yeah, we're going to grow nationwide, but I like to grow really slow. So it's more identifying the right markets and the right stores, because not all stores are created equal. We don't do very well in these bargain bin types of discount stores at all.
Is it because you're premiumly priced?
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you actually co-pack, or are you making the product as well?
We have a co-pack. I mean, we start this out of our kitchen every time we launch a new product, and then we send it up to the co-packer, and they scale it, and then we ship all the ingredients right up to them.
Have you had a good experience with that? Because some people, that's been hit or miss too.
Mostly, yes. I have a very good relationship with my co-packer, but there has been some misses. They're small like us, and maybe have some imperfections as well. But
yep.
I find if you have a relationship, because it's not easy to switch co-packers, so it's better to build a relationship with them, because, especially with mine, I mean, I guess this is not, people can't see this, but again, showing you the bottle, not all co-packers can do this. So I needed to find one that could handle this bottle.
Right.
And the quantity. So yeah, I mean, it's hit or miss. I've heard a lot of horror stories with some, but mine's been pretty good.
That's also good learning though, too. Sometimes throwing the baby out with the bathwater isn't always the right approach. Just reinvesting and working with the co-packer.
Right.
Are there other products that you can think of off the top of your head that you're like, and not necessarily in the Bloody Mary space, but wow, like that's a great product, or I wish I would have thought of that?
The first thing that comes to my mind when you mention that, and all of a sudden I saw the explosion, and it has nothing to do with, well, kind of alcohol, but not really. But I mean, you remember the seltzer industry.
Yes.
Only 4 years ago, White Claw dominated. Everyone and their brother and sister puts out seltzers now. But one that I've seen just explode in the last 3 months is my nephew's girlfriend brought this on 4th of July, and it was this liquid IV. Yep. Have you read this yet? I mean, and it's got the electrolytes, and it's got not hydrotherapy.
It's like a hydrating.
Yeah. And I see it everywhere now. I mean, basically, it's good for after workouts, but what they market it for is a hangover.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's for. So then now everyone's taking that, and they think maybe it's a placebo effect. I don't know, but
could be.
You
do you drink it before you go out, or do you drink it the next day?
You drink it actually when you go to bed. So, and now I'm seeing it like everywhere. I think she got it at Costco. And now I see it at a lot of retailers. I actually saw it in like when you go to the convenience store and how they have the slide shots. It's up there now.
Coolers,
so, but if you're asking me the newest, greatest, and latest thing, that's the first thing that came to my mind that seems to be having an explosion.
Yeah, I love it. Well, Pete, it's great to see you. What do you have coming up? Where can people find your product at festivals or in stores in the Twin Cities?
Yeah, so we are, again, in 140 locations in Minnesota, South Dakota, and Wisconsin. Here in the Twin Cities, you can find us at all the Total Wines, all the top 10 liquors, most of Haskell's. We're in a ton of Hy-Vees. Hy-Vee liquor, not Hy-Vee food.
Sure.
And there's tremendous stores here in town. And then just a ton of mom and pops too. But those are some big ones. And then we're going to be at Sioux Falls. I mean, we'll do like these shabby chic, is that how you pronounce it?
Yep.
Events, boutiques. Great. It's great this time of year because people are shopping, doing holiday shopping. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll be in Sioux Falls next week, and then we'll be in Fargo, Alexandria, and so all over the place.
All right. Well, we will look for you. It is Sideshow Bloody Mary Mix. And what's your website, Pete?
SideshowBloodyMaryMix.com.
All right. Thanks for joining us today on the Makers of Minnesota. I love it.
Yeah. Thanks, Stephanie. Have a wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.